And welcome back to another episode of Grit Daily Dose with E Squared. I can still see the steam off that mug.
I know it's cooking.
It's hot.
It's pretty hot. It's like how I like it. My tea and my showers, I need them boiling hot.
Well, yeah, you've been dealing with this week. This week, just be prepared. Like the rest of your workouts are going to be leg heavy, leg and shoulder the rest of the week.
Well,
this week is not any easy enough. Today we had a chipper, 50 toes to bar, 40 burpee to a target, 30 strict handstand push-ups, 20 box jumps at a higher height, so it's 30-24, and then 10 rope climbs. The goal, 12 to 14 minutes.
I'm gonna have to scale that down so hard. The hardest part
no
for
one
me
did
is
it. I didn't even get it.
I feel like I have such a big I still think that I can do what I did when I was super competitive. Technically, my body composition is like you saw from my in-body. My body composition isn't that far, but it's just
No, it's good.
I don't know, my mental and like some of my skills aren't there. I mean, I didn't do toast to bar for like a year, so that takes a little while to get that like metabolic conditioning back up. And I was gonna take tomorrow off, but then I just looked at the workout. I was like, that looks fun. I don't know why I do this to
myself. You guys have tomorrow?
It's like the Echo Bike V-ups and dumbbell snatches.
Alternating dumbbell snatch. That is a fun one. I
don't normally like Echo Bike,
really,
but I've been forcing myself to do it. I'm really not great at Echo Bike.
We'll cook. Yeah. The goal with that one is like a 1-to-1 rest to work. So try to be sub 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think I was around 4 for my first round, and then I got really angry and like, I'm going to be sub 4 for my next one. And I full send on that last Echo Bike, and I came off of it like just solid bacon sizzle.
Roll to the ground, try to finish the V-up.
Yeah.
It says target time each set 6 to 7 minutes. Dang, so you cooked through that.
And what was it? I had a buddy of mine working out with me, and I wanted to do GHDs instead of V-ups. And so I did bike, V-ups, snatch, GHD, bike. That was my order.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
I liked it. It was great.
Hi, Jackie.
Oh, Jackie.
How's it going?
She's always.
Yeah, I have PTSD from the Echo Bike from Oktoberfest. So I've been working through that.
I still deal with PTSD from back in 2021 or 2020. I did Gobbler down here in Salem area, and they had that workout.
Walter wants me to go work that event.
Gobbler?
Yeah, he wants me to set up he says like we always have a lot of success at it, and people, but it's at kind of a weird time of the year for us, so we'll have to figure it out. Let's see. I've never been to Salem. I want to go. Seems like a cool little city.
The big ones. Gobbler and Gobbler, Gauntlet, and Slaughterfest are big ones.
Are you going to do either of those?
No.
Come on.
Secretly, I'm going to try to reach out to a buddy of mine. So I've been building playlists, and I'm reaching out to a buddy of mine who's a wedding DJ and have him teach me. And we have a local guy. I can't remember his actual name, but he's called the Wadfather, and he DJs all the major comps, or at least he did for the longest time. I know he's getting up in age. I don't know if they're going to continue having him, or he's going to continue doing them.
Do it, yeah.
I don't know for how long. So I would like to take that over. And since I'm not doing a whole lot of local stuff, then I'm happy to go and DJ
your fingers in all the honey pots, don't you?
I'm trying to weasel my way in
DJs
all the avenues.
Everywhere. That's all.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Again, welcome to Grit Daily Dose with E Squared. We try to be a one-stop shop for all things science and experience-based knowledge, whether that's on supplements, nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, really just to try to bring you guys an honest education to help you along the way towards whatever goals you might have. And today, we are going to recap the Enlifted workshop that we had this last weekend with Mark England at 346 Grit CrossFit.
So sad I missed it.
I know. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Enlifted Method, and then maybe give you guys kind of an idea of what it was like for us at the workshop. We're going to have one little exercise that I'm going to have Emma do. It'll be short. It'll be cool. You guys can do it along with us.
In an interactive experience.
Yeah. Let's get right into it. So, yeah, last week we had a fantastic mindset workshop that was put on by Mark England, who's the head coach and co-founder of the Enlifted Method. He's also the founder of Procabulary. If you guys want to go check that out, check that website out. He looks very different in that website because he's all clean shaven and he looks a little younger. So it was like very, because I looked it up first and I was like, that doesn't look like him. Wait a minute.
I'm looking at it now.
If I just get rid of the facial hair.
Yeah. Compared to the enlisted one,
right.
Yeah. He looks like a different person. That's crazy.
Yeah, take out the beard and it's completely different. But a little background on Mark. Yes, the founder of Procabulary and co-founder of the Method. He's a fantastic mindset coach that he's worked with large companies. He's worked with a lot of gyms. He has a plethora of like 300 and something. He's like personally certified over 350 coaches through his Enlifted program. Some notes I have on him. He's conducted over 5,000. Yeah, conducted over 5,000 one-on-one coaching sessions himself. He's led over 750 workshops. I know when he finished ours, he was headed up to Seattle for another one. And then after that, he's headed down to, I think, San Diego area to do another one.
Busy guy.
He travels all over the place. He's in a couple documentaries. He has several online training courses for people. He's even got a really good TED Talk. And he's on a really good Ben Bergeron podcast. It's a two-parter. It's like a 2 and something hour long total podcast. Really, really good stuff to listen to. So it was very, very privileged to get the opportunity to see him and meet him and listen to what he had to say this last weekend.
I'm excited to learn more about it because oftentimes when I hear about like mindset or like, you know, those type of coaches, I'm like, oh, hopefully it's not like cheesy stuff. Like if you can dream it, you can be it. It's like,
and full transparency, I had a little bit of that in the back of my mind. But when I heard that Jossie and of all people, Randy was backing him, Randy is,
you were like, Randy's kind of the no bullshit kind of guy. Like, we don't need that fancy stuff.
But the thing I do like about Randy is he is very mindset driven, that will make or break your success. And he's worked with myself, Randy has, and several other athletes from Grit who have wanted to get more in the competitive realm on a little bit of mindset. And I think this is really good for him because he's going through the actual coaching program to be a certified coach through Enlifted. And I think he's going to be done around mid-November. So hopefully I can take advantage of his knowledge and get some coaching from. Yeah, I would love to. So what is the Enlifted Method? What is Mark and that program all about? Well, the Enlifted Method, it takes the focus is that it combines the words we use, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, and then we focus as well as on the breathing pattern of it all. And the reality is words are powerful. They influence how we see ourselves and create our own realities. I know that can sound kind of cheesy, but when we really think about it, when it comes to ourselves, the words we speak tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't tell ourselves, or when we don't tell our most difficult stories about ourselves, it will drastically affect our breathing, especially when it comes to thinking about that story. And choosing the wrong words to build a thought or a feeling can usually lead to a lot of conflict or confusion. So it all begins with understanding how the simple word choices we make have a massive impact on how we think and feel. There's a lot that went through his workshop, and it's really easy to kind of get the glaze look and almost take that 10,000-foot view and say, okay, this is another one of those cheesy workshops. But Mark really breaks it down. We'll get into that, um, about how we, um, well, really what Mark does is he discusses how we can change the conversation we have in our minds and what we believe about our identity.
Mm.
Um, and through these conversations, he works to increase the potential for who we can be and what we can do. Taking a lot of the I can't, or I could, or maybe, or I should, and getting rid of those. And as we'll explain and talk a little bit later, looking at the I can, ultimately, I can because, and again, we'll talk more about that
Well,
as we get further
so
on.
yeah, I'm curious because sometimes there's a lot of people who are like, that like if you dream it or if you believe it, you can do it. And half the time it's like, well, I could believe all I want that I can fly, but
Right.
I can't fly.
Right.
So sometimes those like mindset workshops words, I do very much know that they have an impact, especially like as a parent, like how I speak to my children and the words I speak to my children's life into them every day makes them, it shapes them and it changes
Uh,
their world.
yeah.
Um, so obviously I know, like, yeah, that's important, but I'm talking to myself all day long. So that's like very, very formative. But
Hmm.
the believing things sometimes is where I get stuck of like, like is it, there's certain people that are so outlandish, but I'm curious to see how he makes it like reality is a thing, but
Right.
don't hold yourself back, at the same time, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, very curious about this.
And so originally, whether it's like the stories of relationships, finances, or even health and fitness, the Enlifted Method, Mark and his additional coaches, they look at many of what's called these first drafts of stories that we tell ourselves.
Hmm.
And we work to craft a richer, more productive way, essentially to interpret ourselves. So, what did we do and talk about? Let's get into that. So, we focus on just that, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves.
Hmm.
So, it's very important. It's very important that we tell ourselves these stories. Stories kept in the head. This is one of the quotes that he had. Stories kept in the head trap breath in the chest.
Hmm.
So we've all had that feeling when that thought pops into your head that maybe you can't do something, or you're not good enough, or I'll never. And then, like, how does that make you feel? Like, for me, when I talk about perfect example would be like the fitness level or getting up to competitive level. I'll never be at semifinals. I'll save it for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably work and I'll get up into masters and I'll eventually. Well, whenever I start thinking about that, my I can literally feel my heart start to beat a little harder and my blood pressure start to rise.
And like even just like the physical feeling of disappointment. Like it's like your
Exactly.
tires just screeching to a halt, you know?
Hmm.
So, because also, if you're thinking that, there's someone that's thinking they will make it.
Exactly.
And so there's always someone to fill your space.
Hmm.
So that's, there's plenty of people with that goal, but you got to believe that and you got to keep working for it. But that physical feeling of like deflation, if you don't believe it.
And that starts reaching into like um, his that starts reaching into what's called the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
that self-doubt, that voice in the back of your head that's doing push-ups in the corner just waiting to throw another right hook at
Mm-hmm.
you and shoot you down. As you continue to try to make progress, that person's always going to be there, um, despite even the best intentions. No matter how far you've come, it's going to want to put that little seed of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to get. He really worked hard, especially with some of the people in class, um, to start chipping away at that and show us that it's so easy for us to devalue ourselves and talk ourselves out of doing something or going for something that we can achieve.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that in this class. So, right off the bat, after he did some introductions, he gave a little assignment that we all took a few minutes and to write out a story of a moment that we had an injury or setback. And this could have been in the gym. He said, focus around the gym. He's like, oh, we're in a gym, so let's focus around that. But this could have been in life too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took 4 minutes. People did it. It was really cool. And then he'd ask, he had three ladies that ended up reading their stories, and it got tear jerky. There's definitely some intense moments. Some talking about, whether it's getting away from alcohol or going through a bad relationship. Um, one was even about self doubt through work life and career avenues. And so he had them read what they had, or even just a sentence. I think one lady had a sentence. He said, okay, title it. Every story has a title, so give it a title. And just throughout that, he says, okay, now I'm going to come back to you, but I want you to expand on what you just titled. So he went to someone else and did the same thing. Had them read what they had, said, okay, title that. You have a title? Cool. What does your title say? Cool. I'm going to come back to you, expand on such and such point. And just kept doing that.
Hmm.
And then when he came back for the second round, he had him read it again. And then at this point, he started picking apart some of the phrases that they had. Like one that stuck out to me, and this happened in both uh, the second time he had them read and the third time he had them read. He had rephrased some stuff and then came back a third time, had him rephrase and slow down. But the one that stuck out to me, if I'm recalling it appropriately, um, is one of my good friends at the gym. Um, she had this sentence that said, I feel I am actually strong now. So he said, okay,
It's a
get
lot
rid
of
of
added
actually.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things that are telling us in our head. Like, okay, I feel that I'm actually strong now. I've been through all this stuff. So now I'm strong. So he said, get rid of actually. Okay, I feel I am strong now. All right, get rid of now. Because are you just now strong, or have you been strong through other things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she got rid of that. I feel I am strong.
Yeah, like she might have always
Okay,
been strong. It just maybe looked different at different times.
right. So then he had her get rid of feel and put a no.
Mm-hmm.
I know I am strong. Had her say that a few times. Take a breath, say it again. And then get rid of I know
Mm-hmm.
I am strong. And it's that sort of things where we go through, not only do we have an issue with the stories we tell ourselves, we have a big issue in just pure communication. There's a lot of self doubt and a lot of that's what I think, a lot of doubt put in a lot of what we say these days.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this could happen. Well, maybe I can get to it. Or I should start going back to the gym. I could maybe go a couple days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So after rephrasing and having them slow down a little bit, going through all the gals, and one got deep. And he always kept going back saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure? You ready to go? You okay? We can stop." Um, and it was cool to have them all open up about their stories. And then the last step is after they rephrase things and added to certain parts of the story and taken some of that stuff out. Um, he had them read it again, even slower, at the point they took a breath at the beginning and at the end of every sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Deep breath in, deep breath out. I am strong. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Next sentence. Allowing ourselves to really listen to your words versus just reading through them.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, that was big, especially since going through college where I was focused on psychology and sociology.
Mm-hmm.
The communities we live in and how we communicate with them. And one of my favorite courses in college was the interpersonal communication. And I felt like I thrived in that. And it's because I give a shit about how people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there's times like obviously everyone has like, I don't really care what you're feeling. You're just going to deal with this.
Mm-hmm. It
But
sounds
when
like
it comes
parenting.
to right, yeah, when it comes,
I don't care that you don't want to do it. You're still gonna do it.
um, but you saw a lot of people have like big sighs, and that's that breath leaving the body. Because
Well,
you
it's
get
like,
something that's stressful, it's like your breath, you get this big pressure in your chest.
yeah, it's like the
You
parasympathetic
feel like,
nervous system like
mm-hmm,
actually kicking in, and your
yep,
body going into that rest and digest instead of fight and flight, and like your body's just freaking out trying to manage all of these possibly negative emotions, or discomfort or whatever. And if you finally just sit into it,
mm-hmm,
you know, um, it's kind of crazy how our nervous system responds to actually awfully, I don't know, kind of random, but on that topic, I have a friend with quite a number of autoimmune disorders, and her and I had a conversation that yesterday that struck a couple emotional chords for her, and she was kind of opening up to me about her struggle with work um and just life and things like that. And then she called me today and she's like, dude, you know that like emotional breakdown I had? She said, I have a flare up now. Like my immune system got and my nervous system got so riled up from me just having like an emotional hour yesterday that now I have to like rest today because everything's out of whack. And so if that doesn't tell you like how sensitive our bodies are to emotions and like repressing stuff and pushing it down and um
mm-hmm.
because this had been something that was bothering her for a couple weeks, and she just needed someone to talk her through it. And she finally got it out, but now her body's like, oh gosh, like now I got to reset because that was kind of traumatic. So, yeah, it's hard for people. A lot of people say a lot of things, and there's a lot of words being said, but not a lot of times is there like really deep meaning or space and time between all those words and understanding and processing and all that stuff. So
that was, it was really cool. It was really cool to see people being willing to get those stories out and to see not necessarily closure to some of that stuff, but part of the process. Admitting to themselves about their self-worth.
I feel like this would be like a therapy session for me.
Oh yeah, I think Chauncey has had several talks with Mark England, like building up to this, and she's not always like participating in them, but I know she listens and just going through the exercises that she has said. Like, there's definitely times that there's tears.
Yeah.
Because one of the easiest things we have one of the easiest things we have today, and it's like a virus, is the victim mentality.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I wrote it down because he gave us the definition of victim mentality, and I can't say I have it verbatim. Hopefully I can get my chicken scratch written, but the victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of a negative action of others, even in the absence of evidence. And it goes on and says, it depends on a habitual continuation of this. And I missed the last part of it, but it's
I'd be scribbling so fast.
I was trying to like, oh my gosh. He even said it multiple times, and I was just absorbing it like, oh my gosh.
Well, the acquired part is big because that's something you pick up. It's not something that just
you're not born with that.
You have to actively pick up that stuff and carry it. And usually what I've found, and I've told people, I've personally gone through a lot of growth, positive growth and change in the last like 18 months. And I've told people recently, like, the biggest thing I regret in my life so far is acting like the victim. And there's specific, situations that brought that out of me. And then looking back, I'm like, man, how much different would that situation have been if I would have just not been that way? Like, didn't do that. And then oftentimes too, like someone who's a victim or acts like a victim takes that on, that victim mentality, often preys on people who are like this, have like that hero complex. Maybe not on purpose, but oftentimes they match up. And I feel like it's because they don't want to do the work to get out of this victim mentality lifestyle and mindset. So they go to someone who's going to try to do the work for them no matter what happens. And then they usually end up pulling both of them down. I'm talking from personal experience, being on both sides of those things, right? Like being the savior in certain relationships, and then being the victim in others. And it's never a good pair. It's never a good habit, but I think that's beautiful how he said that it's acquired and it's habitual. As it is something that you actively have to pick up and then you actively choose to keep doing it. Does that mean you can't get rid of it? No, that actually is the opposite. You can put that down and you can just, easier said than done, but knock it off. right?
Right.
Does take
Right.
practice. So, and a lot of that practice is through words.
Yeah.
Like you have to catch yourself talking about yourself in this victim mentality kind of way and change it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And when he started talking about that, it started me thinking about the story that I was writing, which was about like through my weight loss journey and then through um, some of my past careers, um, about me, you know, essentially breaking it down like I'm at where I am because they did this to me.
yeah, yeah, they put me here.
Yeah.
They made me
I got
stay
into
here.
fitness because those kids picked on me at school.
Yeah.
It's their fault. No. And like talk about rephrasing that, they did this to me. How about that? When I first moved up to Gresham, I started working at this gym that was there, and I started as the head trainer. And pay was not good. Their commission was terrible. Um, the sales department was like a used car lot. Like they wanted you to nickel dime and just haggle and get
Yeah.
whatever you could out of somebody. And I ended up leaving that. And I had that mentality going out like, I'm not going to stay here because you guys are doing this to me. They are doing this to me. And then I started thinking, like, well, really, they did it to themselves. They didn't do it to me. They don't want to, and it's not just me. They don't want to pay other trainers what they're worth. They don't want to pay fair commissions. Like, I should say fair, as in
Like livable wages, basically. It was just,
livable, but even like competitive.
yeah.
And okay, I'm not going to allow myself to be in this atmosphere anymore. And I'm going to leave it. But what ends up happening after I switch from they did that to themselves, I started thinking, what ended up with that company? Well, that gym's no longer in business. That personal training company, from what I've seen at other gyms, is barely skating by.
Mm-hmm.
Going from, I think they had about 100 locations. Now they're maybe 40
It's like a purge of locations.
across the nation.
Yeah.
And so it's that continuation of refocusing into knowing your self-worth, being fair with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but also realizing that you are in whatever situation you're in because of you,
Mm-hmm.
not because of anyone else. You can't control what other people do. All you can do is control how you react
Yeah.
to what people do. So,
And a big thing too is breaking down why you react. Like there are things, there was something that was said to me yesterday that was good nor bad, but it made me feel bad. It was like not a positive or a
right.
negative thing, but it made me feel a certain way. And I am the youngest of my family. So I'm a chronic people pleaser. And I'm very used to people having a lot of opinions about how I live, and so I will constantly, and I do not like upsetting people. So I will be whatever someone wants me to be whenever they need me to be. I'm like, you need this, I'll do it. Like, so and it is funny, but I've always realized, like, I say I can't fly, right? But like if someone asked me to fly, man, would I try. Like it's just one of those. So it was a conversation kind of like that where it's like kind of made me second guess, like, why am I in this situation? Like, why am I here if I'm supposed to, if my like heart wants to be somewhere else, right? And the reality is I have the control on I had to like break down why did that bother me. A lot of it is just like envious. Um, and we're living in a world where I have this dream life of like staying home with the kids and having a big farm and homeschooling the kid. Like that's what I want to do. I love it, but I also have such a passion for coaching and nutrition coaching and being around people and helping people in their lifestyle. And so I feel this constant back and forth. Like, I want to be with my kids, but I want to
Right.
talk to adults. Like it's nice. So it was a conversation surrounding that. But I feel like I'm just in a certain season, and I had to like, when I thought about that, I realized two things: that my breathing, my heart rate was like not regular. I was immediately upset, but I also couldn't figure out really why. Like, why is this bothering you so much? So I just had to like give myself some grace and be like, you might not figure it out right away. It's okay to be upset, even if you don't know why. Just like, chew on it. You don't have to have answers in 2 minutes. Like you can figure it out. And now today I feel much better because I'm like, well, I'm just where I'm supposed to be. And, like take every day as you can. But I feel like the biggest thing that people forget is that like you have the power to be where you're at or not where you're at. So it's up to you. But also like definitely make sure to pay attention to the words you're saying, but also the emotions that you're feeling when you say those words or someone else says certain words to you. I feel like words can be the catalyst for a lot of things,
They
like
are.
lifelong things. So
Words are powerful.
yeah, yeah. And I've I've definitely had a lot of big changes. Like if words were a person, I've had some choice words for those words in the last like you're just really like calling myself out for saying certain things to myself or you
Mm-hmm.
know um it's a struggle. It's hard. Like it's hard to catch yourself at first. Like if you have a habit of talking down on yourself, it's something that you have to like make it a habit to stop yourself and change it, reframe it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our little exercise. So if people want to join us at home, they can do it. If you guys are watching this later or listening to it, even because we've started uploading these to Spotify.
We're so official.
We're getting there. Everything will end up being better edited and this and that. Because I was watching like Chase Ingram and Bill Grunler when they did their Wadapalooza breakdown, which
Love
I
Bill.
wanted to really, I wanted to chuck my water bottle at him through the TV. I'm like, because
I like how opinionated he is. He just.
I do. I like that, but it's when he wants to say the weights aren't big enough, the weights aren't heavy enough. All right, old man. Let's see you do it. You tell me that no, and again, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
I'm getting off track. Let's focus here.
You and I can talk after. We should do like maybe when the Rogue Invitational comes around, we should do like a Rogue breakdown.
Yeah,
it might be fun.
That would be fun.
A fun little twist on things.
Like how Chase and Bill like broke down the Wadapalooza qualifier and had their thoughts on it.
I've heard a lot of people aren't super big fans. However,
doing that
of the qualifier, the workouts.
I had good and bads. It had good and bads for sure.
I do find though that a lot of people were impressed that they were able to make the same workouts for all divisions, which is very difficult to do.
Yes.
So that was one thing, but neither here nor there. We can do that another day. I do think it would be fun. Let's table that Rogue idea for for competitions. Talk about it, break them down.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do what's called the should detox. Again, if people want to join at home or if they're listening to this later, you can join in. So we do a lot of I should, we should, this and that. A lot of I should statements more often than not. So take like the next 30 seconds and jot down 3 to 5 I should statements. All right, what you got?
All right. I got.
How many you got?
I got 3.
You got 3. Okay. Give me one. We're gonna pick one.
Ooh. I'll just do the first one because I feel like the first one is like the most convicting one.
If that was like the first thing that came to your head. Let's do that.
I should play with my kids more.
Okay. Now get rid of should and put could.
I could play with my kids more.
Now think about that, and how does it make you feel going from I should to I could?
I'd almost want to also change the word to I can.
You hit the next nail on the head. Yeah.
That's the like natural progression for me is I can play with my kids more.
And that's about this exercise about going through writing out I should statements, thinking about it. How does that make you feel when you say that? When I should play with my kids more? Like, how does that make you feel as a mom?
Most days it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. so
you're doing great. Like you got your mom there.
I'm doing great. I know, she's so helpful. But yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks, like, you know, working all morning and then I come home and middle afternoon and, you know, I have to jump right on my computer. You know, like my tendency is to just, my kids are so important. I want to be with my kids. And then sometimes when I do have the time to have the kids, I'm so tired, or like play with the kids, I'm so tired. So it's like this constant, but I like the statement of like, I can, because I do have the blessing of being flexible with my work schedule. So I can make time in my schedule.
And you just finished it out. You just finished it all out. So that's a process. That's the due process of this should detox, is you find the lowest hanging fruit of these I should statements. You pick one at a time out. You change the should to I could. Think on that. Then go from I could to I can. Think on that. Do it one more time. I can play with my kids. I play with my kids more because, and you just finished it off, because I have a flexible schedule and have the availability. So I'm going to make the availability.
Okay. So it's just adding more.
That was really, it's layers, like an onion.
Like an onion. We are all, I don't know, what's that like joke? Is like, we
Shrek?
are all just onions. Yes. Layers being peeled back.
Ogres are like onions.
You know, I was in a wedding 2 weeks ago, and they're what's it called? Recessional? They're like walkout song following the ceremony. Recessional?
Pre-session. Anyways, after the
walkout
ceremony,
song was the Shrek song. The like,
oh really?
Happy I can't remember anything today. The like
a Smash Mouth song or whatever.
Yes. And it was awesome. They did really great with music. Okay. So because I have a flexible schedule.
And so he did this with us in the class, and going from, picking out, writing 3 or 7, picking out 1, doing the could, doing the can, do the can because, and really thinking about every time we rephrase those or substitute or exchange those words, how does it elevate or change our feelings? And we should continue to do that because we could, and we can keep doing that because as we keep doing that, it will continue to enlift our thoughts about ourselves.
It's like it'll make us think about, I mean, it'll like basically empower us to be constantly becoming problem solvers. So as opposed to just like, oh, I should be doing this. I'm just going to sit here and wallow in my pity and act like a victim. Instead of being like, okay, like with my daughter today, we given my baby a bath and she's playing with bath toys. She got her nightgown all wet. And as a 4-year-old, man, that is the worst thing you could ever do. She has a full-on meltdown. It was very like sweet, like, I don't know what to do, Mom. So she is crying to me about her wet nightgown. And so I just told her, I said, like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry, but we need to work on problem solving because you're a big girl, right? Like big girls problem solve. And so speaking those like words to her are also a good reminder for myself of like, I'm a big girl. I got to problem solve. And it's okay to cry or be upset or be challenged, but you have to like walk yourself through it. Let's work together. Let's find a solution. And so I gave her options, right? So we walked to her room. I said, you know, let's take your clothes off, whatever ones are wet that you want to just get a dry pair from the drawer. We can do that. Or if you would still want to wear this nightgown, go run to Gigi and help her put it in the dryer for 5 minutes. And then that's what she chose. She wanted to dry it for 5 minutes instead of pick another pair of pajamas. So we ran to the dryer, put it in the dryer, and then I gave her the timer and we counted, you know, up to 5 and she set the timer. Like it was all in her own. And as a 4-year-old, like all that control is awesome, right? It's like helping her brain to line it up and like, here's our problem. Here's the steps we need to take. I can rely on Mom to help me get there. There's some personal responsibility I need to take. Obviously, as a 4-year-old, that's not a lot, but like for her, it's a lot. And so it really, like I've always said, kids are so amazing to help you really like realize what you're made of and who you really are. And I very easily could have been like, oh, Paisley, like quit being dramatic, you know, like just go put on another pair or whatever. Would that have made things better? No, because she is very headstrong. she would have fought me tooth and nail until I did something about it. But I think it was just a good reminder, like for me to just take one thing at a time. I've got a team of people, you know, friends and family that I'm blessed to have that are willing to work with me through things and hear me out and support me. And so I think all of us do have that. We have people that are willing to walk us through it. And if you guys have any should statements you need to break down, like come to us. We got you. I'm sure you have family or friends that want to hear you out. Yeah, some things might be, and I feel like when you say things out loud to someone who's trusted, it's even more impactful.
Yeah. Yep.
So
getting those words out, not only speaking them, but writing them down so we can physically see these stories that we're talking or speaking to ourselves. And so, this workshop was really, really good. People took different things from it, and hopefully people take maybe some things from this. And I encourage people to reach out to Randy come November. I believe November was when he said. Let me double check.
I'd love to work with Randy. That would be awesome.
It's like a different side of him. I think it's going to be because usually he's like, toughen up.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Just
move forward. Yeah. Mid-November. He said he's going to be finished with his certification. So
well, that'll
be cool to
all
see
of us
him
updated on that. That'd be great. I'd like
absolutely.
To work with him.
All right. You got anything else? We can close this out.
One last thing, if you want to do that should detox exercise would be great. Another one that I've done before that gets kind of real legit. Right, just take a piece of piece of printer paper and just write what comes to your mind for 10 minutes. Good, bad, ugly, the things you think about yourself, the things you think about where you're at. Like, try to keep it, maybe a little bit of family, but ideally keeping it about like where you're at, what you think about yourself, and how you're doing, and like all of these things. And man, I've come up with pages that I didn't realize I talked to myself that poorly. And so what I did is, when I see it all written out, it's a lot more like, ow, like that kind of hurts to hear, like if someone said that out loud to me, I'd have a probably cry. so I think like seeing it out, and then you could kind of take a spin on the should detox and like find which ones of the statements on that page you could change. Try to actively change it. Reach out to Randy if you like need a little bit coaching. So that's another like kind of real and honest one I've done, that kind of helps break things down, because sometimes it's hard to know what you're actually thinking.
Yeah.
Till you say it or you write it. So yeah, that was just another thing I thought of. But that's it for me.
I like that. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Grit Daily Dose with E Squared. Stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll catch you guys next week. Hopefully, we will catch
you
guys next week. Stay tuned to find out what we're going to talk about, and we will post it on the social medias. If you like what you hear and you like what you see, and you have any thoughts on what we would like,
I did it right.
Oh, you did.
I was like, I'm gonna.
I got it.
Same direction. It's the opposite.
Hit us up on our social medias. Comment, like, subscribe, follow, all the things. You can always email me at nutrition@346grit.CrossFit. But we will catch you guys on the next episode. Woo.